Super Bowl performance by Kendrick Lamar was incredibly disappointing. Very disappointing. Okay. I just felt like it was low effort, like, especially with the level of visuals he's done recently with this particular song that he took all the way to the Grammys. I feel like he's been going very visually high saturation, like high graphic information, a lot of graphic information. And it was so kind of low. I don't know. It was just very underwhelming. That performance was extremely underwhelming. And I'm not a huge fan of the song. I'm not a huge fan of Kendrick Lamar necessarily. I think that he is a great artist. I think his work is really great in terms of his lyricism and his sound. I can appreciate it for sure. In terms of how I feel about that performance is just so, I just found it really mid, especially with what he could have done. And then like carrying that over to the Grammys, this dude is winning a Grammy with a diss track. And it's just like the only thing that I felt was great about Kendrick Lamar at the Grammys, as far as what I've seen, because I haven't watched the whole Grammys, I don't know where you can find them. I've watched a lot of the clips, is that he wore all denim. Like, that was a great choice. But like his acceptance speech, the whole thing is just, I find his gimmick very gimmicky. But I think he's being authentic. I think that he is being authentic. I really do. But I find it gimmicky, and I find it resonates with me like a gimmick would, I guess is how I would say. So yeah, not super resonant. Beyonce winning, I don't understand. People are saying she won album of the year, but I thought that was someone else. Wait, she won album of the year, she won best country album, and then she won album of the year for Cowboy Carter? Okay, I didn't realize that. I literally watched the clip, but I didn't see the clip of her winning album of the year. That's really crazy. It makes no sense. What's interesting is like she's been snubbed all of these times that it would have made sense, and then she gets the award when it doesn't necessarily make sense. Now, the reason I don't think that it makes sense is because this album felt like very experimental and very like someone trying out a new genre. That's what it felt like. And that's great. The sound, like the production on it was strange. I remember feeling that when I was listening to it the first time. And yeah, it was just like not... I understand why the types of people who would watch the Grammys or, the voting academy, that people who vote on things like this and participate in this kind of culture of voting for best art, I understand why they would do that. And because it's Beyonce, but I don't, that's like, whatever. It just shows you that, like, overall, right, because the Oscars happened recently, now the Grammys are happening, and these shows have fallen off. Like, these shows have fallen out of public conversation, and they've come back in the last couple of years, I think only because not enough else is going on, and no one's creating enough. No one's creating things to replace these types of ceremonies and shows that we've created and that are, have been established as kind of the industry standard. No one has made anything that rivals it in terms of, everyone getting together from all these different genres and all these different parts of music, and us understanding like who actually produces and makes and writes all these songs, right? Like people who you've never seen before, or maybe you never heard their name if you're not really up on music and understand the process of music, are the ones getting up to get an award for SZA's song or whatever. And so people, there's this understanding of how music happens that I think is really great, that happens because of the Grammys. But other than that, and especially, God, the Oscars is like, it's just like a really big, it's just not relevant anymore. Recognition and awards for art is very relevant, but these award shows are not. And that the dissonance between those two things is why these shows are being treated the way they are, where it's like we're watching the clips, nobody's actually watching the actual show. And I don't know what that does in terms of like how much they actually make off of the show itself. These red carpets, the fashion, these kinds of things, it's all still falling very flat. So yeah, we're gonna have to find something to replace that at some point. obviously the Super Bowl will always be relevant because people really love football. And people will probably continue to love football. I think sports are great for people who love sports and for people who are athletic. I think it's a great way to channel that. Other disappointing things at the Grammys. I'm all over the place. Other disappointing things at the Grammys was the idea that Bianca and Kanye were not going to pull that kind of stunt. Have you seen everything else she wears all of the rest of the time? Okay. And then no Doja Cat is really disappointing. She has just really continued to really grow as a performer. And I think that would have really made this Grammys better. But I realized that maybe it's just the timing, because I'm like, there are songs she could have, there are songs she could have performed. I don't know why she didn't perform. That would have really, I think, changed the game. I didn't see any performances that were particularly compelling. Like, we've seen Chappell Roan perform that song 17 million times at this point. We get it. That probably should have won Album of the Year, to be honest. But she also said she didn't want Grammys. I don't even, like, at this point, she needs to dance a new dance and sing a new song. And that's, like, both literal and metaphorical. Her speech at the Grammys was also very, like, okay, like, it was just very empty. It was a very empty gesture. That's what it felt like. Her speech felt like a very empty gesture. I don't know what this, like, just sounds like angry ranting, but it's not. This is just my opinions and how I'm expressing them. Okay. The other thing is that Lady Gaga's new album. Okay. So that's the other thing. Lady Gaga apparently performed at the Grammys, but I can't find it anywhere. Oh no, she did. She did the California Dreamin' with Bruno Mars. Why is she working with him? So her new album, Mayhem, which is gonna come out in March. Yeah, that's an interesting one because I liked Disease. When it came out, I was like, oh, okay, I like this. This feels like a new old version of her. This is interesting. The video was slightly disappointing. Then she comes out with Abracadabra while I was away in India. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You're dropping this right after You Sexual just came out, right after I leave to India. Okay. So she drops Abracadabra, and the video is old Gaga, but better. It's refined. It's beautiful, it's symbolic, it's all these things. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. There's nothing she could have done better. It's perfect. I think I didn't really like the shine on the red outfit of the lady who's kind of like this lady that she's singing about, the lady in red. I didn't think the shine was necessary. That costuming was an interesting choice. But other than that, it was perfect. And but the other graphics for this album, the like title of Mayhem, just the word is like, it's very like this new Lady Gaga album, and the way that she's titling it and the way that she's going about it, it's almost like she hasn't let go of the Joker. There's an aspect of like kind of cringy, kind of cheesy, and she's a cheesy person. I love her, but she's cheesy. It seems like she hasn't let go of that entirely, because with Mayhem, like, why are you using that? Why does it look like that? Why are you using bright orange? Why are the photos like that? I feel like it's not fully baked yet. And also, it feels like she's having this homecoming with her sound, and but she's going somewhere different and elevated with her aesthetic. Those things are both very exciting. And then it feels like the word mayhem, the orange, and the way that the font, the way that the graphic design is for the album, it just puts it just smashes it down. It just flattens it, and it's so disappointing. So there's that. A new White Lotus has come out. I haven't watched it yet, but it's just making me realize, like, we have a problem right now. We have a big problem when it comes to culture and media in the United States, where we had that weird thing that happened during COVID, obviously, where everyone was inside and nothing was really being made. And then we had an issue once there was the strike of things not being produced and not being made. And there was, during all of this time, issues with just remaking stuff. This too, this redone, Zootopia. I don't know if Zootopia was redone, but you know, these kinds of movies that were already sort of mid, like being redone, and we're just doing sequels and we're doing remakes and we're doing, you know, we're just basically like we're trying to reinvent the wheel. And obviously some of those were very successful. Taking Wicked, like taking a musical and making it into a movie with people who have real musical talent, that was seemed like a very successful thing. Did I like the movie? Not really. Did I see it in theaters in one of the IMAX screens where everything is made way too big and way too loud? Yes. I think that we've lost the plot in the US when it comes to culture and media, and we don't know where to go from here. We literally, the innovators are not in the driver's seat, and it's horrifying. It's also fine. Like that's really dramatic. But as a person who really loves culture, it's pretty disturbing. Obviously, for people like me, I'm just kind of really on the lookout for more indie artists. I'm more on the lookout for, yeah, just smaller people and creators who are doing it on their own, or who maybe have a small name for themselves, but you have to kind of know it. Like, you know, I'm just going out of my way, basically, which is great and fine. But to have mainstream media just, it's like miss after a miss after a miss, it's pretty brutal. Oh, but The Brutalist, that movie, incredible. And Adrian Brody is obviously a mainstream actor, so we've had some wins, but oh, and like the Grammys in some ways were that cohort of society sort of accepting what is upcoming and what is kind of cool right now as a way to make their show relevant again. And I think that that's smart. And some of the categories and who were nominees, I think really showed, not who the categories were, but who were in the categories. So the nominees, I think those really showed like, okay, we are in this sort of forward progression. But at the same time, I think that it's temporary for that kind of institution to be acknowledging the certain kinds of people. As it always is, it's kind of like they always throw somebody in there who's like a crowd pleaser or who's popular and will get in a lot of numbers, but isn't actually gaining respect within the community that creates and sustains these kinds of rituals. Things that I've been really excited about since getting home, really excited is a stretch, because honestly, after coming back from a pilgrimage like that, there's no words. There's no words for what I've experienced. There's no words for what my expectations of life now and my expectations of other people and my expectations of art and culture. It's like, there's no words. But I am particularly excited about a couple of things. So one is Berlin Fashion Week. So this has been obviously like, I'm aware that there's a Berlin Fashion Week. I've known that for a while, but I saw some stills from some of the runways and I found it quite exciting, like surprisingly, especially for my taste and for what I like out of Fashion Week. But I just found it kind of refreshing. There were a lot of, I don't think I knew any of the names that I saw in this initial peruse. So I'm excited about that. I'm thinking about if I want to attend. So Berlin Fashion Week is on my mind. Another thing that's been on my mind is interior design and what it means to be in space, like creating within space to create an effect of like like I'm a big traveler, so collecting and displaying what I've traveled and coming home to somewhere that feels like home. I'm really considering what that means. And I'm just excited and inspired by fashion in general. I'm excited about what's going to be occurring in music. I think if we can get out of the rut that we're in, which is basically not even recycling, like throwing away and replacing the same kind of rapper over and over, both on the female and the male side of rap. I think if we get, why did I say rap like that? I think if we get out of that rut, I think if we get out of the rut of rap, one thing I will give Kendrick his flowers for is I do feel like there is a way that he is modeling commitment and dedication and artistry that is really important right now. I think if more artists, especially in the rap field, modeled their career and their creation process after him, I think that we would have more forward trajectory. I think that if pop singers followed Charlie XCX in her process, right? The way that she's conceptualizing, or even, yeah, I think that's a direction I'm excited about. Obviously, I'm excited about FKA Twigs and how that's going to evolve, and Lady Gaga. Like, there's a lot of things that are exciting that I feel like people are returning to their roots, and they're realizing that a lot of the hamster wheels are hamster wheels and hopping off of them, and then creating stuff that actually still creates as much buzz and attention and attraction as all the stuff they did to just get clout or views or whatever. Like, it's working, it's profitable, and that's really exciting. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited about in culture. I think that's all I have to say for now. I'm really curious to see what Doja Cat comes out with next. I think she's working on new music. Other things I'm excited about? I mean, I want more like theater shows to be excited about. I want more ballet shows to be excited about. So yeah, I'm just going to like the outskirts and the ether again. I think I have allowed myself to put too much faith in popular culture over the last, I would say, 4 years, maybe like forever. I feel like I've always really valued and found so much enrichment in the outskirts and the indie and all this kind of stuff, which just means independent. But yeah, I mean, that is what it is, as people who are creating stuff independently and are not just being funded and propped up. And yeah, I'm excited to continue to spend time in spaces that I find, and not that are like fed to me or on the front page. It was so interesting coming back from India and having so much on the front page, having so much at the forefront of what's going on, and feel, again, this is henna, and feel like it's still the same old tune. And that's what I mean. I didn't really come back excited about anything in particular, is because it all just feels very flat. It feels very the same thing over and over, the same tone, even just getting a different tone. I'm like looking at, what do you mean best rock performance was by the Beatles in 2025? What do you mean best R&B performance, Gene? Best rock performance, Cardi B. Okay, there's some part of the Grammys, obviously, I missed. Sorry, I had this page up because I was researching the best spoken word poetry album. That's cool. Okay, that's all. I'm signing off. Bye.